There is nothing like curling up to a good book you grew up with. Except of course chain smoking and tippling your way to godhood through a book written by this guy. That's awesome too. If you can do that, do that. Yay! In the shadowy world of rare books, a scruffy and cynical book detective finds himself entangled in a web of intrigue. His mission to unravel the mystery behind a diabolical book and the secretive group of people trying to do the same. The Ninth Gate, a 1999 supernatural thriller directed by Roman Polanski, marks his return to devilish themes after 3 decades since the unveiling of his masterpiece, Rosemary's Baby. The movie is based on the book Club Dumas by the Spanish author Arturo Pérez Reverte. A quick disclaimer before we begin. In 1977, Roman Polanski was charged for a hideous crime that I cannot even say out loud in this video. Facing a long sentence, he fled to France a year later and remains a fugitive, shielded from extradition to the US. Now, here's the dilemma. While I find Polanski's actions absolutely deplorable, many of his movies hold a special place in my heart. I can't help but love them, even knowing that the director himself might be a terrible individual. If I couldn't separate the artist from his art, countless masterpieces throughout history would remain unappreciated. But let's refocus on The Ninth Gate. After completing the 1994 movie Death and the Maiden, Polanski found himself without work. Eager to embark on a new project, he received a movie script from Enrique Urbizu. The story impressed him, particularly its black humor, cinematic characters and the occult mystery woven into the plot. After reading the 1993 book, Polanski realized how intricate and convoluted the original work actually was. Despite the complexity, he was captivated by the characters and the narrative. Polanski decided to create his own screenplay, enlisting the help of John Brownjohn, with whom he had collaborated several times before. The process of simplifying the story for the film format was extensive. They worked side by side, with Brownjohn typing, together revising and fine-tuning the script, sometimes going through as many as 30 iterations before they were happy with the result. Polanski expressed regret for omitting significant portions of the book, also recognizing the necessity of doing so. Notably, they chose to exclude a major subplot involving the authentication of an alleged unpublished chapter from Alexandre Dumas' The Three Musketeers, where Pérez Reverte skillfully intertwined characters from the classic novel with his own narrative. Interestingly, Polanski stated that he has little interest in witchcraft or demonology, finding them laughable and dull in real life. However, he acknowledged their potential as captivating elements for cinematic storytelling. Despite creating only 2 devil-themed stories separated by 3 decades, many have still questioned why he consistently gravitates towards such themes. The film was shot in France, Portugal and Spain during the summer of 1998 with a budget of $38 million. Due to Polanski's inability to set foot on US soil, scenes set in New York were either staged in a studio, filmed on the streets of Paris, or the indoor settings enhanced with special effects. This scene, I believe, was filmed in New York with the help of a stunt double. Polanski employed several special effects teams to create the film's fantastical look. These effects, while often discreet, played a significant role in achieving the desired visual impact. Critical reception varied, particularly between US and Europe. While European reviews were generally more favorable, American critics had very mixed opinions. The film received praise for its suspense, Johnny Depp's acting, intriguing characters and thematic exploration. However, reviewers criticized the pacing, the confusing ending and the lack of chills. Roger Ebert gave the movie 2 out of 4 stars, commending its film noir build-up and Depp's performance, but expressing disappointment with the open ending. Polanski himself viewed The Ninth Gate as a good and entertaining film, an advertisement for hell in his words. However, he acknowledged that it was similar to other films of its time and didn't make a profound statement of any sort. The premiere of The Ninth Gate took place in San Sebastian, Spain, on August 25, 1999, followed by its North American release in March of 2000. Despite the mixed critical reception, the movie achieved relative success, grossing $58.4 million worldwide against its $38 million budget. Polanski specifically highlighted the cinematography of Darius Khondji and the production design of Dean Tavoularis as crucial elements during the shooting process. Tavoularis, a Greek-American production designer, played an invaluable role in creating stunning sets for the movie, including the Telfer and Balkan libraries, both meticulously crafted in a Parisian studio. Khondji, the Iranian cinematographer renowned for his work on Seven, actively contributed to shaping the film's visual style during pre-production. Polanski commended Khondji's skillful use of lighting, which cleverly balanced realism and fantasy. In 1997, Johnny Depp eagerly joined Roman Polanski's project, driven by his desire to collaborate with the acclaimed director. Initially, Polanski hesitated to cast Depp as Dean Corso, the protagonist who, in the book, was 40 years old. However, Depp's persistence paid off, convincing Polanski that age mattered less than talent and motivation. With his combed back hair, moustache and glasses, Depp embodied a more mature presence on screen. As Corso, he also liked to smoke a bit and drink in moderation. Polanski initially praised Depp's performance, but later sources suggest a strained relationship between the two, as Depp's interpretation of the character diverged from Polanski's vision. Frank Langella was chosen for the role of Boris Balkan, who was written to be the main antagonist in the movie adaptation instead of the narrator in the original book. Polanski considered Langella charming yet disturbing at the same time and saw his powerful voice as a great asset for the film, as much of the dialogue between Corso and Balkan was to be by phone. Polanski loved Langella's performance in Adrian Lyne's version of Lolita. And come on, he was Skeletor in the Masters of the Universe. Polanski took one look at this scene and said, "There is my antagonist."
Yes! Let this be our final battle!
Or that's my theory anyway. Emmanuelle Seigner was cast as the mysterious protector. She had by then been married to Polanski for a decade, and her role was possibly written with her in mind, but she was still the last one to be cast. In the book, she calls herself Irene Adler, a character from Sherlock Holmes' Scandal in Bohemia, but in the movie she is only known as Green Eyes. The Swedish actress Lena Olin was chosen for the role of Liana Telfer, a sensual and unscrupulous leader of an occult secret society. Polanski saw her very fitting for the role, which oozed intellect, sexual attraction and danger, the classic femme fatale. Yowza! Among the minor characters, James Russo portrayed Bernie, a rare bookseller and Corso's associate. The classical actor Barbara Jeffert stepped into the role of the German aristocrat Kessler.
I am Kessler. I am the easygoing general who does not need to salute properly.
Heila!
Yeah.
Not him, her. Jeffert had very little time to get into the role and adapt the German accent, but did just an amazing job. You just gotta love the way she says the word order.
Membership in the order. Order, order, order. My orgy days are over.
Completing the cast, Victor Fargas was played by Jack Taylor, known for his work in low-budget exploitation films of the 1970s. As a curiosity, the production manager Jose Lopez Rodero played both of the brothers Ceniza in Toledo and both of the movers in the penultimate scene, with some help of creative special effects. Polanski also considered the completely fictional book itself a character. De Umbrarum Regni Novem Portis, 9 Gates into the Kingdom of Shadows, which is said to contain stylistic similarities with another Venetian book also mentioned in the movie, the exceptionally rare Hypnerotomachia Polyphily from 1499, published exactly 500 years before the movie. He wanted a book to be a hero in the movie which takes place in time where books were being abandoned to computers. He even designed the pentacle in the cover and kept as much of the original engravings from the book as he could, only altering them slightly to fit the characters' faces from the movie. The book's fictional author, Aristide Tokia, paralleled Giordano Bruno, a philosopher and early cosmologist who was burned at the stake in Rome in the year 1600. The musical score was composed by Wojciech Kilar, who collaborated with Polanski on his last movie as well, and was famous for his work with Bram Stoker's Dracula 7 years earlier. He would work with Polanski again on The Pianist 3 years later. The tale unfolds with Andrew Telfer, an aged book collector taking his own life under mysterious circumstances. Enter Dean Corso, a scavenger of rare books, who is summoned by the enigmatic Boris Balkan, an affluent collector with an obsession for occult literature. Balkan reveals that he has acquired the Telfer copy of the infamous 9 Gates into the Kingdom of Shadows. This book, penned in 1666 in Venice, supposedly holds the power to summon the Prince of Darkness in person. Balkan tasks Corso with authenticating the book by comparing it to the 2 other known copies, one in Portugal and the other in France. Suspicious but enticed by the hefty paycheck, Corso accepts the challenge. Corso interviews Telfer's intriguing widow, who seems oddly fascinated by the book. She later visits Corso at his apartment, attempting to acquire it. Their encounter first turns seductive, and when she does not get her way, violent.
Don't fuck with me!
I thought I already did.
As Corso investigates, he starts to see a mysterious blonde woman trailing him. His journey takes him to Toledo, where he interviews the former owners of the Telfer copy, the brothers Ceniza. They reveal that the book was actually purchased by the widow. More intriguingly, they claim that Tokia collaborated with Lucifer on its creation, and 3 out of the 9 engravings bear the signature LCF instead of Tokia's AT.
Lucifer?
Corso barely escapes unscathed after a tall scaffolding almost collapses on him, realizing that the events in the engravings seem now to manifest in reality. En route to Portugal to meet the second copy's owner, he encounters the enigmatic woman once more and suspects her ties to Balkan. Victor Fargas welcomes Corso and lets him inspect his copy of the 9 Gates. Through meticulous study, Corso realizes that the engravings differ from Balkan's copy in a very subtle way, and the different 3 engravings are now signed LCF. A near accident leads to Green Eyes rescuing Corso on her motorbike, prompting Corso to report his findings to Balkan. Early next morning, Green Eyes escorts Corso to Fargas' residence, where they find the owner dead and the second copy burning in the fireplace. Their journey now leads to Paris, where Baroness Kessler, the owner of the third copy, reveals the existence of an old secret society dedicated to safeguarding the book's secrets, now withered into a decadent group of bored millionaires. Kessler throws Corso out after realizing he is working for Balkan. Green Eyes rescues our protagonist again in superhero fashion after another run-in with the gentleman trying to run him over earlier. After weird events in the bedroom and stashing his book again, Corso returns to Kessler trying to dazzle her with his findings about the book. It works, and he gets a chance to inspect the third copy. As expected, the last 3 LCF signed engravings appear in the third book. But suddenly Corso is knocked out, and when he regains consciousness, Kessler lies dead and the third book ablaze. He also notices the Balkan copy he hid has been stolen and suspects the widow. They locate her in Paris and start to shadow her in a repossessed viper. They end up in an opulent chateau, where the secret society is about to have their annual jamboree. Corso attempts to join the festivities, but Boris Balkan crashes the party, declaring himself the sole worthy wielder of the book's power. He kills the widow Telfer and then effortlessly scares everyone off. Corso follows Balkan to an old castle, where the 9 LCF engravings have been removed from the 3 books. After a confrontation, Balkan's ritual goes horribly wrong after a very promising start. After one hell of a sexy time with Green Eyes outside the castle, she reveals that the 9th engraving was a forgery. Corso discovers the real one with the mysteriously vanished Senisa brothers. Returning to the castle, he is welcomed by a blaze of light as the credits roll. The ending of the movie and the engravings have been analyzed and overanalyzed by so many others, often in far-reaching and esoteric fashion, that I don't feel like sticking my head into this occult rabbit hole.
Depp get actual pirate demons?
She is an abject, psychopathic demon from hell.
A 2-headed dog with 6 legs.
Polanski himself did not take the occult aspects that seriously, and I believe that going too far with the esoteric interpretations might undermine the director's original intent. However, while examining the Balkan's failed ascension scene, I stumbled upon something peculiar. For some reason, the engravings on the table consist of the ones from his own copy, which lies just next to the engravings. These include the AT ones. The differences are clearly on display. The only exception is the number 5, which is the LCF version from the Kessler copy. Was Balkan as much of a fool as the rest of the aged orgy society? It's probably just a blooper, but there it is for your obsessive convenience. In Club Dumas, the engravings are assembled like this, where the matrix gives the sum of 15 in every which way. 1 plus 5 becomes 6, which is, you get the idea. Just to be extra nice, here are the engravings in numerical order with the Latin and its translation. Good luck with your rabbit hole. I like physical media, and I always try to own the best versions of my favorite movies. While The Ninth Gate is readily available in streaming services, finding an EU-friendly Blu-ray is actually quite difficult. The best version I have found is the Spanish Blu-ray. However, this version has an absolutely infuriating quirk of making you choose between the Spanish subtitles or Spanish dubbing. You have to have one. It simply won't let you have original audio without the subtitles. God, I would love to see a 4K restoration. So, for making this video, I watched the rather quirky La Novena Puerta Blu-ray and reread the English translation of the book. I absolutely adore this movie. It has a permanent place in my all-time top 10 favorite list. While most of the other titles on that list are quite universally appreciated, I found it weird how some people hate this movie with a fiery passion, after panning it for the same reasons I find myself loving it. In my view, The Ninth Gate is not a horror film. It's a suspenseful thriller with supernatural undertones. Approaching it as a horror movie with the corresponding expectations would likely lead to a disappointment. The movie's atmosphere mixes the mundane with the fantastical, the serious with the comical, and therefore it has an almost surreal, dreamlike quality to it. Much of it comes from the fantastic visual storytelling of Darius Khondji. All this combined with the clever musical score always gives me the Twin Peaks vibes when I watch the film. Polanski has described The Ninth Gate a mix between Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown, and it's easy to agree with this statement. Brown Jones and Polanski's adaptation was very successful. Whenever I read the book, I find myself thinking that its extra plot lines are just unnecessary. Having said that, the book is definitely worth the read, and I actually prefer the book's version of the ending. The movie's sets, from Bernie's bookstore to Balkan's library, were meticulously created to perfection. The movie never forgets to show the beauty of old books and the harmonious sight of a well-stocked bookshelf. Acting across the board is very good. A lot has already been said about Depp's performance, so instead I will first sing the praises of Frank Langella, whose commanding performance was a high point for me. Several side characters too, like Baroness Kessler and Liana Telfer, were acted brilliantly by Jefford and Lean respectively. Polanski, a former actor himself, always knew how to extract stellar performances. Johnny Depp's portrayal of the protagonist is sublime and natural, yet I do have one criticism. Dean Corso's ambiguity and reserved demeanor left me wondering about his motivations for unlocking the Ninth Gate. For Balkan, it was hunger for power. For Corso, perhaps just good old seductive curiosity. The Ninth Gate is such a fantastic movie, and while it has become a cult classic, I find its reputation among the general public to be fairly obscure. If I could compel everyone to watch just one movie, it would be this one. I watch the movie at least once a year, and while it was not even a passion project for its director, the leathery shine of the Nine Gates never fails to leave me in awe. So, what are your thoughts on the Ninth Gate? Do you like the word order? If you want to see more content, please like, comment and subscribe. And if not, that's okay too. God bless you, kind sir.